Okay, let's dig into this. We're really jumping into the world of logical fallacies today.
Yeah, these tricks. Tricks of logic, tricks of language.
Right, the kind that lets someone pass off a claim as something it's just not.
Mm-hmm. And, trying to argue, well, using sound reasoning, that should be how you win arguments.
Should be. But fallacies, they've been around undermining that for, 2,500 years?
It's kind of amazing, isn't it, how long they've lasted? Since Aristotle, really. And they're still so relevant.
So our source material here, it's not just theory, is it? It treats us like a practical guide.
Oh, absolutely. The mission, it says right there, is for people who actually want to win.
Win arguments, okay.
Yeah. I mean, sure, it helps you spot when someone else trips up, maybe accidentally uses one.
Right, defense.
But it also, and it's pretty upfront about this, it can teach you how to use them yourself.
Use them, on purpose.
If you want to. The text says, with mischief at heart and malice aforethought.
Wow, okay. So it's not pulling any punches about the dark side of rhetoric.
Not at all.
And the value for you listening isn't just dodging these things, it's getting this sharp vocabulary.
Exactly. For talking about, politicians, people arguing online, commentators.
Instead of just feeling like, something's fishy there, or they just changed the subject.
Yeah, you can actually name it. Pinpoint the precise crime against logic, as the source puts it.
That's powerful. It moves you beyond just, that's my opinion.
It really does. So you get the defense, like you said, spotting them coming, but you also get the offense. Being good with these means you can be successful and, let's be honest, pretty effective at steering things your way.
Making sure the argument goes where you want it to go.
That's the idea.
All right, so opening nugget. A practical tip right off the bat from the source. Learn the Latin tags.
Yes. Definitely learn the Latin, wherever you can.
Why, though? What's the advantage?
Because, imagine you accuse your opponent of doing something, but you use the Latin name, like argumentum ad populum.
Okay.
It sounds like they've got some rare tropical disease. That's the quote from the source.
Okay, I see. And at the same time, it makes you sound.
Right. You sound erudite and authoritative, smart, in control.
So it's a quick win, establishes you as the brainy one before you even get into the details, even if they have no clue what you just accused them of.
Exactly. It's a shortcut. Frames the whole debate, gives you that linguistic edge right away. So you sound like a scholar.
Okay, so first section. We're looking at the ones that attack the person.
Right.
Or play on emotions instead of the actual argument.
These are huge in modern debates. You see them everywhere. They fall under fallacies of relevance, specifically intrusion.
Intrusion. Like bringing in stuff that just doesn't belong. Hostile stuff, emotional stuff.
Exactly. Stuff that's irrelevant but gets shoved into the argument anyway. And we start with a sneaky one. The abusive analogy.
Abusive analogy. Okay. Not a direct insult.
No, it's indirect. You compare the person or their idea to something else. Something that's calculated to make the audience feel scorn or, just think poorly of them.
So you're relying on the audience's pre-existing negative feelings about the thing you're comparing them to.
Precisely. The audience kind of fills in the abuse themselves. You don't have to spell it out.
So you're bringing in all this extra baggage, this negative feeling, without actually making an argument against their point.
Right, like saying someone knows as much about ships as an Armenian band leader does.
Okay. The assumption being the band leader knows nothing about ships.
Yeah, so it makes the person look ridiculous. But the fallacy is you haven't actually addressed how much they do know about ships. You just use this unrelated, maybe offensive comparison.
And when someone's really good at rhetoric uses this, it can be brutal. Like that historical example about Sir Robert Peel.
Oh, Daniel O'Connell's line?
Yeah.
Saying Peel had a smile like the silver plate on a coffin.
Oof. That paints a picture.
It really does. It takes that surface thing, the smile, the politeness, and immediately makes you think of something cold, fake, dead underneath.
It's pure imagery, totally separate from Peel's policies, but it poisons how you see him.
You're selling the image, the feeling, and letting the audience connect it to the person so they judge them negatively without you ever needing to refute a single point logically.
Okay, so if the abusive analogy is the sneak attack, what's the direct assault called?
That's the argumentum ad hominem abusive, the classic personal attack.
Right. This is where you just bring up nasty, irrelevant stuff about the person arguing.
Yeah, their character, maybe something bad they did in the past, anything that makes them look bad and suggests their judgment is flawed.
The goal being the audience thinks, Well, I can't trust this person's argument.
Exactly. Give less weight to what they're saying because of who they are, not because the argument itself is bad.
But isn't there a gray area? Like, when is someone's past relevant?
That's the tricky part, yeah. The source gives an example. Someone argues for fluoridation, a perfectly reasonable point, maybe.
Okay.
But then you dismiss it by saying, well, this person used to support euthanasia.
Ah. Unless the euthanasia stance somehow logically connects to the fluoride argument?
Which it almost certainly doesn't. Then it's irrelevant. It's an ad hominem attack. You're attacking the person, not the fluoride argument.
So the key is that logical link.
Mm-hmm.
Is the past action directly related to the current argument's validity or the person's credibility on this specific topic?
Exactly. If a known financial scammer is arguing for, say, looser banking rules, well, their past is relevant to their credibility on that topic.
Right. Trustworthiness matters there.
But if they're arguing about, I don't know, the best way to prune roses, their financial past is probably irrelevant. The ad hominem abusive tempts you to dismiss the rose advice just because they're a bad person.
Got it. The argument should stand on its own feet.
Mm-hmm. Then there's the argumentum ad hominem circumstantial. Slightly different.
Circumstantial?
This one focuses on the person's special circumstances or their presumed interests rather than their character flaws.
Okay, so not you're a bad person, but you only believe that because of your situation.
Pretty much. You urge people to accept or reject a view just based on the speaker's situation or the audience's situation, not on the actual evidence.
Give me an example. How would you use it against an audience?
Okay, imagine talking to university students. You say, you can't possibly oppose government subsidies for education because look at you, you're all here benefiting from them.
So you're saying their opinion is biased by self-interest, so we shouldn't take their argument seriously?
Right. It dismisses their ability to think objectively about the issue.
And against an opponent, that seems more common.
Yeah, think about, say, an energy debate. An oil company executive presents some data or an opinion on oil prices.
Okay.
And someone dismisses it instantly by saying, well, of course he'd say that. He works for big oil. He's just protecting his company's profits.
Right. You hear that all the time.
And that's the circumstantial fallacy. Because here's the thing the source points out. Even if he is motivated purely by profit.
His data or his prediction might still be completely correct.
Exactly. His motive doesn't automatically make his facts wrong. Dismissing it just based on his circumstances, his job, is fallacious. You're dodging the actual evidence.
It's a way to shut down the argument without actually engaging with it.
Mm-hmm. And that leads us to the sort of the big one in this category, the argumentum ad populum, the appeal to the crowd.
The mob appeal. Okay, this sounds like pure emotion.
It pretty much is. You bypass logic entirely. You don't build a case. You just appeal directly to what the crowd already feels, their prejudices, their fears, their patriotism, whatever.
Things like nationalism or fear of outsiders or demanding loyalty.
Yeah, all those hot buttons.
Yeah.
It works because people generally like hearing things that fit with what they already believe or feel, especially what their tribe believes. Doesn't matter if it's based on facts.
So an example.
A politician might say something like, anyone who questions our military spending isn't a true patriot.
Ooh, okay. That immediately puts anyone who disagrees on the defensive.
Right. It avoids the actual debate about whether the spending level is right or wrong and just frames dissent as being disloyal or unpatriotic. It's powerful, gets the crowd roaring, but there's no real argument there.
Okay, so we've done attacking the person. Now we're shifting to attacking the language itself.
Yeah, basically. These are linguistic fallacies. They happen when you play games with word meanings or sentence structure to sneak in errors or, be deceptive.
First up is equivocation. That sounds like being vague.
Not just vague, but using a word that has multiple distinct meanings within the same argument, while the argument only works if the meaning stays the same.
Right, the meaning shifts mid-argument, like that classic philosophy example.
Mm-hmm. Happiness is the end of life, okay? End means goal or purpose there.
Got it. Then
the end of life is death. Now, end means termination.
Right, different meaning.
So happiness is death. The conclusion only follows if end meant the same thing in both steps, but it didn't. So, fallacy.
That one's pretty obvious when you lay it out. But in real life?
Oh, it's everywhere, especially in business speak, politics, diplomacy. It's often deliberate. You want the listener to accept something based on one meaning of a word while you're actually operating on another.
Like the example of the complaint letter, saying it will receive the attention it fully deserves.
Exactly. Sounds positive, right? Like they'll really look into it.
Yeah.
But the person sending that reply might mean this deserves no attention, so it's going straight in the bin. The attention it deserves is 0.
So attention means one thing to the hopeful person writing the letter and something completely different to the bureaucrat dismissing it.
Precisely. It lets them seem helpful while committing to nothing. If challenged later, they can say, well, I only promised the attention it deserved. It's a pre-planned escape route.
Okay, next linguistic trap. Amphibole. This isn't about word meaning, but sentence structure.
Right. Ambiguous grammar, confusing pronouns, clauses stuck in the wrong place, making the sentence readable in more than one way.
The source had a funny example about an ambassador.
Yeah. I met the ambassador riding his horse. He was snorting and steaming, so I gave him a lump of sugar.
Huh.
No.
So, who got the sugar? The ambassador or the horse?
Exactly. The pronoun he is ambiguous because of the sloppy sentence structure. We don't know who is snorting and steaming.
Usually that's just bad writing.
Often, yeah. But the source suggests if you want to use amphibole, you should cultivate a nonchalance toward punctuation and use words that can be both nouns and verbs. Keep it loose.
Why? What's the advantage of being deliberately ambiguous like that?
Plausible deniability. If someone calls you out on one interpretation, you just shrug and say, oh no, I clearly meant the other thing, which is still technically, grammatically possible. Another escape hatch.
Sneaky. Okay, what about accent? This one's about emphasis, you said. Mostly verbal.
Mm-hmm. The words on the page stay the same, but how you say them, which word you stress, completely changes the implied meaning.
Okay, like the example, men are born equal.
Right. If you stress born, what does that imply?
That maybe they don't stay equal for long.
Exactly. It subtly opens the door to justifying inequality later on, suggesting it's natural. The emphasis added meaning that wasn't necessarily in the original flat statement.
And you can use this against opponents by quoting them, but adding your own spin.
Oh, yeah. It's a classic dirty trick. Quote someone accurately, but with a stress they never intended. Like, he said he would never lie to the American people.
Stressing never.
Implied, well, okay, maybe he won't lie, but that leaves him free to do all sorts of other shady things. Mislead, deceive, cover up.
It focuses on what wasn't explicitly denied.
Right, the source mentions you can take like 6 lines of careful, honest statement and twist it into a damaging half line just by picking your emphasis carefully when you quote it.
Wow. Okay, final linguistic pair. Composition and division. These are about groups versus individuals, collective nouns.
Yep. They mess up the relationship between the properties of the parts and the properties of the whole group.
So composition is going from parts to whole.
Right. Assuming that because each individual part has a certain quality, the whole group must also have that quality.
Like the orchestra example. Every musician is brilliant.
So the orchestra must be amazing.
But that's a fallacy because...
But they might not play well together. Maybe they clashed. Maybe the conductor is terrible. Maybe they haven't rehearsed. Individual talent doesn't automatically equal group excellence.
Okay. And there's a social version of this, too.
Yeah, a really important one. The idea that if everyone just looks after their own self-interest, then society as a whole will automatically be well taken care of.
But that ignores
collective needs. Things like roads, clean air, public safety stuff that individual action alone can't provide. You need cooperation, group effort. Yeah. Composition fallacy ignores that.
Okay, so division is the opposite. Going from the whole to the parts.
Exactly. Assuming that because a group as a unit has a certain property, every individual within that group must also have it.
The example was about Iceland, oldest democracy.
So Bjork must be really old.
Clearly ridiculous.
Yeah, but we do it subtly all the time. We stereotype. We assume someone from a rich country must be rich, or someone from a famous university must be brilliant, judging the individual based purely on group characteristics.
So the mistake in both composition and division is sliding between what's true for the individuals and what's true for the group as a whole.
Mm-hmm. That ambiguity in words like team, nation, company, does it mean the individuals or the collective entity? That's where the fallacy creeps in when you switch between them unfairly.
All right, changing gears now. We're moving away from meaning and relevance to the actual structure. Formal fallacies.
Exactly. Here the problem isn't necessarily the truth of the statements you start with. It's the shape of the argument, the way it's put together. The logic itself is broken, even if the pieces look okay.
Okay, first one. Affirming the consequent. This is about if-then statements.
Yep, conditional arguments. The basic form is, if A happens, then B will happen.
If A, then B. Got it.
The fallacy happens when you see that B did happen, and then you incorrectly conclude that A must have caused it.
So working backwards from the effect to the cause, but getting it wrong.
Right. Because the problem is B might happen for lots of reasons, not just A.
Okay, the example was cats and hedgehogs.
If cats are bitten by rabid hedgehogs, A, they die. B,
Okay, sounds plausible.
we find dead cat, B happened. Therefore,
A rabid hedgehog must be nearby. A must have happened.
fallacy. Because the cat could have died lots of other ways, right? Hit by a car, poisoned, old age. B happened, but it doesn't prove A was the cause.
So affirming the consequence B doesn't prove the antecedent A.
Exactly. And this isn't just silly examples. The source points out this is the basis of circumstantial evidence in court.
How so?
Well, if someone planned a murder, A, they might buy poison. B, we find out they did buy poison. B happened. If they wanted to dispose of the body, C, they might buy a shovel. D, we find they did buy a shovel. D happened.
Okay.
No single piece proves the murder plan, A, or the disposal plan, C. Buying poison could be for rats, another cause for B. Buying a shovel could be for gardening, another cause for D.
Right. Affirming the consequence.
But when you pile up enough of these consequences, B, D, F, H, all pointing towards the same antecedents, A, C, E, G, it starts to look very likely, even though each step is formally fallacious on its own.
Interesting. And you can use this to make people look bad, too.
Yeah.
Suggesting motives.
Oh, definitely. If he was greedy, A, he'd cut corners. B, look, he cut corners, B, therefore he must be greedy, A.
And you're jumping from the action back to a likely but unproven motive.
Substituting a plausible story for proof.
Okay, next structural flaw. The undistributed middle. This sounds technical. Syllogisms.
Yeah, this is about how terms connect in a classic three-line argument. Premise 1, premise 2, conclusion. The middle term is the thing that appears in both premises and is supposed to link them.
Oh.
The fallacy happens when that middle term in neither premise refers to the entire category it represents. It's undistributed.
Example needed. The dogs and horses one.
Perfect. Premise 1, all horses have 4 legs. Premise 2, all dogs have 4 legs. Conclusion. Therefore, all horses are dogs.
Clearly wrong. But why? Structurally. What's the middle term?
The middle term is things having 4 legs.
Okay.
Is that term distributed? In all horses have 4 legs, are we talking about all 4-legged things? No, just the horse part of them.
Right.
In all dogs have 4 legs, are we talking about all 4-legged things? No, just the dog part.
So the middle term, 4-legged things, never covers its whole category in either premise. It's undistributed.
Exactly. And because it's undistributed, the premises don't properly connect. Horses and dogs both live in the big 4-legged things category, but in different parts of it. There's no forced overlap.
Okay, I think I get it. How is this used in practice? Tarring with the same brush.
Yeah. You make something seem good by pointing out it shares one quality with something everyone already likes, even if loads of bad things also share that quality.
Like the union closed shop example.
Argument. A union closed shop is the will of the majority. Democracy is the will of the majority. Therefore, the closed shop is democratic.
What's the undistributed middle term there?
Will of the majority. Lots of things represent the will of the majority, right? Some good, some potentially very bad, like a lynch mob, as the source brutally points out.
So just because both the closed shop and democracy share that feature, it doesn't make the closed shop democratic in the way we usually mean.
Yeah.
The shared quality isn't specific enough to link them properly.
Precisely. You're glossing over the important differences by focusing on one superficial shared trait.
Got it. Okay, last one in this section. Petitio principia. Begging the question. Circular reasoning.
Right. This is a big one. Basically, the argument fails to move forward because it uses its own conclusion, often disguised or reworded as one of the reasons, premises, to believe the conclusion.
It assumes the very thing it's trying to prove.
Exactly. It just goes in circles.
The simple example was about wages.
Yeah. Justice requires higher wages because it is right that people should earn more.
Okay. It is right that people should earn more. Sounds an awful lot like justice requires higher wages.
It is the same idea, just phrased slightly differently. The reason given is just a restatement of the point being argued. No actual support or evidence has been offered. You haven't proven anything.
But it sounds like you have, maybe. Especially if it's complicated.
Oh, yeah. If the circle is really big, with lots of steps between the premise and the conclusion being fed back in, it can be hard to spot. It masks the lack of real evidence.
And the political example of this was quite something. The UK's national plan in the 60s.
Astounding, really. The government wanted to show the economy could grow at, say, 3.8%.
Okay, a target.
So what did they do? They sent surveys to companies asking them to estimate their future production, assuming a 3.8% growth rate.
Wait, they told them to assume the conclusion?
Yep. The companies dutifully plugged that assumption into their forecasts and sent back their estimates.
And then the government
Added up all these estimates, which were based on the 3.8% assumption, and announced, look, the combined forecasts show the economy will grow at 3.8%.
Wow, that's perfectly circular. The conclusion was literally baked into the input data.
Mm-hmm. The source calls the whole plan valueless because its proof depended entirely on everyone already accepting the conclusion as true. No external evidence needed.
A brilliant example of how people, even governments, can convince themselves they have support for an idea when really they're just hearing their own assumption echoed back.
Okay, final big category. This is about dodging arguments, sticking to old ways, or saving face. Fallacies of omission and presumption.
Right, avoiding commitment, rejecting new stuff without reason, protecting yourself. Let's start with shifting the goalposts, definitional retreat and hedging.
Definitional retreat is what you do after you're caught. You made a statement, someone challenges it with evidence, so you quickly change the definition of a key word you used.
So you can claim your original statement wasn't actually wrong, according to this new, narrower definition.
Exactly, like you promised never to travel abroad. Then you get caught taking a trip to, say, Boulogne. You retreat by saying, but Boulogne isn't technically abroad because it's a territory, not a sovereign state. You retroactively shrink the definition of abroad to escape the contradiction. That's not what I meant by abroad.
Gotcha. So hedging is doing that in advance, planning your escape route.
Precisely. You deliberately use vague or ambiguous language right from the start, so you can always reinterpret it later to fit whatever happens.
Making sure you can claim you were right no matter the outcome.
Mm-hmm. This is classic territory for fortune tellers, but also, maybe some economic forecasters.
How so?
An economist might predict, say, the market will likely decline next year.
Ooh.
Okay, sounds definite, barring unforeseen global events.
The hedge. The escape clause.
Right. If the market goes up instead, they just say, well, clearly there was an unforeseen event. My underlying prediction of decline was still correct without that event.
So the prediction becomes unfalsifiable. It covers all bases.
Essentially, yeah. It sounds like information, but it's so hedged it doesn't actually commit to anything specific. It's designed to protect the predictor, not inform the listener.
Okay, moving from vague language to limited choices. Bifurcation. The black and white fallacy.
This is powerful. You present only two options as if they are the only possibilities, when actually there's a whole spectrum in between or other alternatives entirely.
Forcing a choice between two extremes.
Yeah, and usually one option is presented as terrible, making the other one, the one the speaker wants you to choose, seem like the only sensible path.
Like, we either build this giant wall or we face complete chaos.
Exactly. It ignores all the other possibilities, different types of border security, policy changes, diplomatic solutions, etc. It forces you into a false dichotomy. Wall or chaos. Pick one.
And Lord Nelson's famous cry, Westminster Abbey or victory.
Great example. Very motivating, right? Glory or death.
But it completely ignored the third option.
St. Paul's Cathedral, which is where he actually ended up. It overlooks the middle ground, the compromises, the other ways things might turn out.
And politically, this helps big parties squeeze out smaller ones by framing everything as just us versus them.
Definitely. It simplifies the world into two camps and makes moderation or alternative views seem irrelevant or impossible. Reduces complexity to a simple, often misleading binary.
Okay, now the time-based fallacies. Appeals to age. Argumentum ad antiquatem. Appeal to the old.
Right. This is assuming something is good or right simply because it's old, traditional, the way things have always been done.
We've been doing it this way for 50 years. It must be the best way.
Exactly. It's the default argument for resisting change. Now, tradition can hold wisdom, sure, but age itself isn't proof of correctness. Sometimes old ways are just old and bad.
It replaces arguing for why it's good with just pointing out it's familiar.
And its opposite number is argumentum ad novitam, the appeal to newness.
Assuming new is always better.
Yeah. This is the latest thing. It's modern, it's cutting edge, therefore it must be superior.
Like the example of new tower blocks in architecture. Just because they're the coming thing.
Doesn't automatically mean they're better housing than older designs. New ideas need to prove their worth, just like old ones need to justify their continuation.
So both fallacies rely on our bias, either towards the comfort of the old or the excitement of the new, instead of actual evidence about the thing itself.
Spot on. Neither age nor newness is a logical argument for value on its own.
Okay, last one for this section. Secundum quid. Hasty generalization.
Right. This is jumping to a big conclusion based on way too little evidence, or evidence that isn't really representative.
Seeing a couple of things and then making a rule for everything.
Yeah. The example given is, you visit a town, meet 3 drunk people near the station in 10 minutes.
And conclude the entire town is full of raging alcoholics.
Exactly. Tiny, unrepresentative sample, massive generalization. It's leaping from the specific secundum quid means according to this to the universal way too quickly.
And the source made a really interesting point about science here, how even science is prone to this.
Well, not prone in a sloppy way, but fundamentally, scientific laws are generalizations based on observed instances. Even something like gravity, tested billions of times.
That's still technically a generalization from those observations.
Right. And theoretically, it would only take one consistent counterexample, one apple that always falls up to break the general law, or at least force a major rethink.
So even our most solid scientific knowledge carries the inherent tiny risk of being a hasty generalization if a completely new context emerges.
It's a reminder, really. The nature of generalizing from specifics always carries that risk. You need to be sure your evidence is sufficient and representative for the claim you're making. Don't jump to conclusions. #outro.
Wow, okay. We have covered a lot of ground, from attacking people to twisting language to breaking logic structure.
It's a whole arsenal of techniques, really. Ways that arguments get derailed, intentionally or not.
So just to recap those big categories for everyone listening, we had
1. Formal fallacies, where the structure is broken, like affirming the consequent.
2. Informal linguistic fallacies, playing with word meanings or sentence structure, equivocation, accent.
3. Informal relevance fallacies of omission, leaving stuff out, hedging, definitional retreats.
4. Informal relevance fallacies of intrusion, bringing in irrelevant attacks or emotions, the ad hominems, ad populum.
And 5. Informal relevance fallacies of presumption, making unwarranted assumptions, begging the question, hasty generalization.
Okay, so we've basically given you, our listener, a toolkit. Now you can spot these things, right? Identify that precise crime against logic when you hear it.
Whether it's a politician trying to dodge a question, someone yelling on the internet, maybe even a friend in a debate.
You have the defensive shield now. And, as the source cheekily suggests, maybe a few offensive weapons too, if you choose.
Use your powers wisely.
Okay, so for our final provocative thought, something to leave you mulling over, let's talk about the fallacy of the runaway train.
Ah, yes. This is a fascinating one. It happens when the reason given for taking a small, limited action could actually justify taking much, much more extreme action.
It questions the stopping point. If a principle is good, why not follow it all the way?
Exactly. The classic example. Let's say we argue for lowering the speed limit on highways from 70 miles per hour down to 60 miles per hour.
Okay. The reason?
To save lives. Lower speed equals fewer fatal accidents. That's generally true, a good goal.
Makes sense. Saves lives. Good thing.
But if saving lives by reducing speed is the only principle we're using, why stop at 60?
The same logic would say 50 saves even more lives.
And 40 even more, and 20.
All the way down to 0 lives. That would say the absolute maximum number of lives lost to speed.
Right. If saving lives via lower speed is the sole justification, the logic doesn't stop at 60. It runs away like a train all the way to 0.
So the runaway train fallacy forces you to ask, why are we stopping at 60? What other reasons, what other values are we implicitly using to halt the train there?
Exactly. What's the hidden trade-off? In the speed limit case, it's obviously things like, economic efficiency, convenience, personal freedom to travel quickly.
We don't state those as the reason for stopping at 60, but they must be there, balancing against the save lives principle.
So when you hear an argument for taking just one step based on a broad good principle, ask yourself, does that principle logically demand more steps? And if so, what are the unstated reasons for not taking them? What's really going on in that balancing act?
Something definitely worth thinking about next time you hear a policy debate. Thanks for joining us.